Peace, y'all. Welcome to our mini podcast series where we talk about varying topics on emotional intelligence. Today's topic is falling for someone's potential.
So, there's this phenomenon that we hear in the dating world, in the relationship world, known as falling for someone's potential.
Potential.
Malachi, tell me what you think about that.
I think it's, frankly, I think it's a reflection of what we see in ourselves. We all have potential. We all have big dreams or, ideas for where our life could take us. And so when we meet other people that inspire us, we see their potential as well. And whereas we're not trained to maybe get so excited and really act on our potential and fully develop it, it's easier for us to watch someone else's potential prosper and bloom. So falling for someone's potential is really seeing your potential in their reflection, but then actually seeing it happen through them.
Right.
And
I love that. Wow, that's beautiful. The thing is, how do we know the difference? We when we first meet someone, we focus on all the good that the person brings, all of the green flags, and often that leaves us kind of missing the yellow and the red flags. And I have, and my partner, you have also found yourself in a relationship with someone who has great potential, and we can see all of the parts of them that are going to be blooming and blossoming, but there's one problem. They have not seen that in themselves. They have not considered for themselves how to turn their potential energy into kinetic energy, and how to actually move beyond the realm of I'm good at these things, I do these things, but are we actually making strides to create something from our potential? And even when I think about me and Malachi, how we first met, we were kind of at rock bottom, if you will, in most of the ways, very tough positions, and that's really the space that we find ourselves when we find ourselves falling for someone with potential, is that they got all this good potential, but they're just kind of in a low place, right? And I know there's a metaphor you gave me one time about investing when the stock is low.
Oh yeah. Just hang with us, okay? Keep going. Keep going.
So he told me, babe, you invested in me when the stock was low. And I was like, what does that mean? Well, a lot of times in the stock market world, the best time to invest is when it's low. But that also is very high risk, high reward, right?
And there you go. That's what I was making y'all wait for.
Yeah.
High risk involved, because
it could just not grow.
Man, I was a pullover away from
going to jail,
tilting, or one bad scenario, one trigger away from making another decision that was going to cripple my life for another 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. He was literally, when I tell you, I don't want to tell his business, but a lot of what his experience was, he was teetering on the edge of his life going in a totally different direction due to circumstances that happened before I arrived in the picture. But what I noticed about Mally is that he had ambition like I've never seen it. And I met him when he was pursuing his own gifts, his own talent, his own business. I actually met him when he was selling his products
I was working
that he already had created for himself. So it wasn't I got to get this man together. I got to help him figure out what he wants to do with his life.
Yeah, it wasn't I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get this together. I already had a brand. I already had product. I already had sales and customers. So
had is key.
Yeah, the work was done. So I guess that's a big difference between potential and actualization, is the work that you've done getting towards actualization, right? And I have immense amounts of potential, but she did notice I had a solid core of work that I had already done to feed towards my goals and where I'm going in life.
Yes. So I didn't have to do any extra emotional labor or even physical labor to encourage him to follow his potential. He had already determined the great potential that he had within himself.
And was moving on it.
And was already acting on it. He was already moving forward. So when I came in, it was more so an assistance or just adding the extra enhancements that he might not have necessarily thought of.
Acceptance.
And adding the acceptance of his current position. Just like, oh, I see this man working. I see he's already done the work and is doing the work. And for me, my role is to come in and just do my sacred work, you know, and that will naturally enhance his work and will naturally enhance each other's work. So when you're dating someone, really consider, what does this mean? Like, is this person ambitious? Are they going after their dreams? Like, do they already have momentum toward the direction they're trying to go? If there's no momentum, that's just pure potential.
And I can imagine this. With work, it can be instructed work or self-guided work.
Yeah.
So it's one thing if you find a potential partner who they went to school, right? And they made it through school. It's like, okay, you made it through school. That's like one thing. But like life after school is a whole different ballgame. That is your ability to self-instruct and to self-discipline and to create your own path. And that's a different type of potential and work that needs to be done as well. And you know, maybe not everybody needs to have that mastered, but then if you don't have your self-discipline mastered, then they should at least have the ability to continue enrolling in instructional settings that will keep them on track.
Right.
So it's not like they got to be a start from ground zero and do everything themselves from scratch. That's one way, but even they need instruction too. But the opposite, being able to see like, oh wow, you keep enrolling in more classes, you keep putting yourself in position
It just keeps going
to learn at this incremental level.
They don't plateau.
You don't not plateau.
Yeah. And I love, like for me, how I was able to determine the difference was how his day-to-day looked, right? Because it matters. Like, you will know if a person's on their divine mission or their path by how they spend their time. So with Mali, he wasn't out physically making something happen. He was on his laptop. He was thinking of a master plan. He was adding details to a plan he already got going. He was making phone calls. He was visiting people. He was making connections. He was following up. And that's just pretty much his personality. That's just how I knew, oh, this man's gonna be great. This man's doing something big. And he's not just chilling. He's not just resting. He's just not like whatever. I even had to help him understand that I feel safe when he rests, because I see how hard he's working. I see his work ethic. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, he being lazy or he falling off. It's like, no, you need to rest. You need to relax, because you are beyond your potential. You're moving, you're doing it.
And this was a time where both of us were deciding between spending money on food or putting gas in the tank.
Yeah, we were struggling.
And a lot of relationships will not survive that, because like as much as I want to extend you patience, like I'm not happy about where I'm at in life right now. So then you put the press on them when really you could be putting the press on yourself and what you're trying to aspire to.
Yeah, and I think women are really guilty of this, and men too. You know, we got homosexuals out here, but women are really guilty of waiting for the man to come and do the saving and to come and take care. But if we can recalibrate or rearrange what we view as a man taking care, it doesn't mean that they excuse our responsibility for our own personal growth. So even sometimes I have found myself leaning on him, like, you need to step up to do this, to do that. But in reality, that was just me trying to hide behind him so that I wouldn't have to also apply pressure to myself to step up and do the work. It's like I had to learn that I'm not going to catch a break just because I have a mate who's willing to do that work for himself and for me. But at the end of the day, that's still not going to bring me the joy that I'm looking for, because I can't arrest my development as a woman waiting on a man to become his greatest potential without me becoming my greatest potential. Because even with that, he might outgrow me in a sense, because he had continued on his journey and I decided to just stop and not pursue my potential as well.
That was a big thing for me too. I'm like, don't catch yourself sitting on your ass just because you see me climbing out the mud. Cause once I get on solid ground, I'm out.
I'm running.
I'm out.
And I'm gonna be too out of shape. And out of
if you out
breathing.
of shape, bro, I ain't
for
even
me,
go.
I can't wait. I can't wait, my love, because we both were in this together to grow and ascend together, and it is imperative that we both put in our effort toward our potential, not just hoping the other person does it all for both of us.
For sure.
Deal. Love it.